Rev up your engines!
Ford thinks it has the answer to the service technician shortage. Now, by 2028, 3 years from now, there will be a shortage of over 400,000 mechanics. Now, there is a shortage, and you know why? Because they don't pay the mechanics enough. It's seen as being a crappy job. The salesmen make more money, right? Why would you want to get dirty, cut your hands, be sweating dirt and grease on you, working on a car, when you could just be a salesman there and make more money, right? Well, Ford says, they got a solution. They said, they're going to help train people. I'm laughing my butt off for 2 reasons. One, they say that they're going to give $5,000 scholarships, and that they're going to award 800 people $5,000 scholarships. All right, 800 people. They say we're going to be 400,000 short, and the Ford giant company is going to give scholarships to 800 people. How many of them will actually go through and finish it? Who knows, right? And they're saying that, well, these mechanics can make $100,000 a year. Oh, what a great job. This is all lies. I'm in a business. The average mechanic in the United States working at a dealership makes about $50,000. And the ones when you start up, you make a lot less than that. Generally, they are paid per hour working, and regardless of how much time it takes them to fix a job, they get paid what the book says. The book says it's a 3-hour job. They get paid for 3 hours. And the hilarious thing is, go to a dealership, they might be charging $200 an hour. Okay? They might only be paying the mechanic $20 an hour flat rate. So, one, they're only getting 1/10 of what the bill is anyways, right? The mechanics. The other goes to the dealership, right? But if they don't have a job that they're doing, they don't get paid anything. Flat rate means when you're working, you get paid. You're not working, they don't have jobs, you don't get paid. So they are lying, saying, it's $100,000. No, it isn't $100,000 jobs. And many of them make a lot less than $50,000 a year. So this fantasy that, Ford is going to fix this problem, this is too little, too late. And they're even lying to the people about how much money that they're going to make. It's just, they will have a shortage of mechanics because this isn't going to change anything. Right? Lying to people only works in the short run. If people train, they do this stuff, they get the job, and they're like, geez, I'm not making that much money. I'm going to do something else, right? I met lots of people who went to these automotive training schools, right? And say 5 years after they graduate, very few of them actually have a job in the business anymore. They didn't like it, they didn't get paid enough money, or they didn't even like it when they went in and saw what they were going to be paid and they went and did something else. Or they were interested in learning how to fix cars, but then when they saw what the jobs were like, they did something else and they fixed their own car. Well, as if they don't have enough problems with Cybertrucks, now parts of Cybertruck body panels are flying off while people are driving down the road. Now, they've already been subjected to 7 recalls of Cybertrucks. Those razor-sharp stainless steel panels, some of them are just flying off. Now, there's a body shop guy who works on them, and he's saying, here's what he thinks is happening. He says that Tesla attaches stainless steel body panels to plastic frames that are bolted to the side of the truck. But instead of bolting the panels to the frames, they use an adhesive to stick them on. You might not realize it, but they have some pretty good adhesives out there. Years ago, Audi started making aluminum frames pieces, and they're actually bonded together in parts by adhesive. And they hold together quite well. But it looks like Tesla cheaped out on the adhesive it used, or didn't put enough of it on, so the giant trim pieces are falling off. To Tesla's credit, some of the body panels have welds that hold on it, so you don't have to worry about the tailgate falling off and hitting you. He says just other body panels and trim pieces will fall off and hit people. And one guy took his Tesla to a service, and on one side, the trim fell off. So the owner says, hey, I went to a Tesla service center to have them replace it. And they said, okay, we'll replace it. And he says, hey, how about replacing the trim on the other side before it falls off? And they said, no, we're not going to do that unless the panel falls off. They're not even fixing the problem. They're just saying, oh, yeah, if it falls off, yeah, we'll put another one on. But it hasn't fallen off yet, so Can you imagine? You paid all this money for a vehicle and pieces of it are flying off because they didn't put enough glue or they used a cheap glue and they're coming off. Now, hey, I know all about glue in cars. They've been using glue for things for a long time, right? But you got something this new, the Cybertrucks that have been out like a year at max, and these pieces are falling off already. This does not bode well for them as they age and the glue comes apart. Even more and more things start flying off. The whole idea of making stainless steel panels and having them glued on is just insanity, right? But the whole reason, they shouldn't have made them in stainless steel in the first place. They look crappy. They get junk all over them. I mean, look at the massive failure that the DeLorean. I mean, look, people ended up painting the DeLoreans because the stainless steel wasn't stainless. It would stain. And people just ended up painting them. And they didn't like having to polish the stainless steel because it would get smudges and stuff on it. Well, stupid idea in the first place. But now you find it out, they don't even glue them on right. And pieces are flying off of them while people drive down the road. So my advice is if you drive a motorcycle, don't tailgate a Cybertruck. Something might come off and slice your head off while you're going down the road. As if it couldn't get any worse for the Cybertrucks. Oh, yes, it is. Okay, I gotta laugh. GM is still pushing that electric car baloney, only everybody's finding out they don't want them. They're still, GM, the headless monster, dead from the neck up, is just stumbling. The elephant in the room, only it's the headless elephant, and it's bouncing off of everything. GM's pilot EV charging network now is in 25 states, okay? And they have a little over 130 locations. Okay? There are 298 million cars registered in the United States, and they got 130 locations, right? And GM themselves, they sell 2.7 million vehicles and have 130 charging stations. Does anybody see, gee, there is a real problem with charging these electric cars, amongst other problems that they have? Prices, reliability, super expensive batteries. No one really knows how long they'll last in the long run. They don't work good in hot weather. They lose range. They don't work good in cold weather because they lose range. So when they tell you, well, you can get 100-mile range in 20 minutes or blah, blah, blah. Not necessarily. It might take 40 minutes to get that small amount of range. So, you know, it's kind of funny. GM's still doing this. They call it a pilot EV charging station with the name GM. Hey, you know what I say? Too little, too late. Now, here's a lawsuit about cars where everyone is wrong. A Tesla owner is seeking $1 million in damages after the car was keyed at DFW Airport and the suspect was arrested. Now, suing for $1 million for something like that, minor property damage, I think the guy's crazy, right? Greedy and crazy. But then again, he owns a Tesla, so what else can you say? But of course, the man who scratched it was in the wrong in two ways. He's damaging somebody's property that he has no right to do. And two, he's a stupid moron. Because Teslas have cameras in them, and they film everything. So, of course, they had films of the idiot doing it, and he was arrested. This guy was parked at the DFW airport, and his Tesla was scratched. And they caught the guy. The accused was Rafael Hernandez. He didn't like Tesla. He doesn't like Elon, whatever, right? Now, the lawyer for the guy who owned the Tesla said, quote, "It's a fine line between civility and anarchy. This matter has nothing to do with political persuasion or affiliation." But the guy himself says, "It's just mind-boggling to me that there are people who are so triggered and so disturbed by anything these days cause harm to somebody." So the guy is suing for, the damage, but also that loss of work. Why did he lose work? Because he had a scratch on his car, right? And that he had fear in him now. People get their cars keyed all the time. That's the way the world works. There's some crazy people out there that key cars, right? I've had it happen to me, and it's annoying, but it's not earth-shattering. It's certainly not worth $1 million. Okay, here's a story, and I'm going to show you the truth of it. The story is there is a massive 8 million tons of lithium worth $540 billion, California in the Salton Sea. You've seen the movies, the crazy hobos that kind of live around there still. Back in the 50s, I guess early 60s, the Rat Pack hung out there. They had bars and people were water skiing, but it's all drying up. Well, from it all drying up, and where it is, where it's an end point for water, there is all this lithium dissolved in the water. Okay, it's still pretty big, the Salton Sea. I've seen it. If you haven't, watch the movies. You'll see how big it is, right? There may or may not be 18 million tons of lithium in it, but it's extremely diluted in the water. Getting it out would be so expensive and would probably create all kinds of pollution trying to get it out, right? Like if you don't realize it, there is gold in seawater. Right? But there's such a small amount diluted in it, and it would be so hard to evaporate it and get that gold out that it would be economically unfeasible. You'd spend 1,000 times more money getting the gold out than you ever get selling the gold. Well, I think that the same thing is existing in the Salton Sea. Maybe there is 18 million tons of lithium dissolved in that water, but it's an awful lot of water, and getting it out would probably be so expensive. Let them show me the figures of, say, like in Australia where they have lithium mines. How many tons of the ore do they have to process to get, let's say, a pound of lithium, right? Well, how much water would they have to process and how much would it cost to get even a pound of lithium? And you'll probably find the mining stuff is probably much more efficient than getting it out of the water, because it might be there, right? I saw one thing the other day. I guess they think, oh, there's diamonds at the center of the planet, right? In the core. Well, how the heck are you going to get to them, right? In this case, it's easy to get to, but then getting it out of the water, that could be another story entirely. Now, here's a laugher. Audi is in such problems that they say they're going to launch an entry-level electric car in 2025. They say that it's going to start at like $27,000. Kind of ugly. Kind of looks like a Fiat 500e too, you know, another electric vehicle, right? Of course, Volkswagen owns Audi, right? And Volkswagen's doing the same thing. They said they're going to launch a cheaper version electric car, right? And it'll probably be the same car, only it'll say VW instead of the Audi Olympic circles on it. You know, let's face the facts. Most of their cars are the same. The cheap ones are the same on both sides, and then the expensive Volkswagens are the middle Audis. But they're having a heck of a time selling their cars. They've got too much of a bad reputation of they cost too much. They cost too much to maintain. And they fall apart all the time. And they have absolutely no resale value. I have more people coming, Scotty, I can get a really good price on this used Audi. I'll say, you think it's a really good price. No, it isn't. Because they cost a fortune to maintain. That thing's got 100-something thousand miles, and I can guarantee you it's starting to fall apart. But I said, hey, I check them out for free. Bring it over. They bring it over, and I find so many things wrong with that car, they don't buy the thing. Or if they're foolish, they buy it, then they bring it to me, and I give them the bad news. So I think the idea of Audi putting out a lower-priced electric car is going to affect most of us. Probably not. Still a German car. The Germans are having a real problem selling their electric cars. Mercedes can't sell their electric cars. Audi can't sell their electric cars. That new Volkswagen ID.Buzz microvan, just like the old Volkswagen minibus vans that they had in the 60s, right? They can't give those things away. I looked down the street here. They were discounting them $18,000. Nobody wants them. In the United States, at least. Did you know you can get a regular gasoline-powered motorcycle brand new for less than $1,000? Yes, you can. There's only one drawback. It's a Chinese motorcycle. And if you remember the old Rodney Dangerfield line, it fell apart like a Chinese motorcycle. Now, it is called the X Pro MC NO25. What a stupid name, right? It's a little 125cc motorcycle, and yes, you can get it for less than $1,000. Now, it's old school. It's got drum brakes in the front, and it doesn't even have electric ignition. It's got points and condensers. But that said, also has a carburetor. You can work on it yourself. None of that complex computer electronic stuff. You want to get a cheap motorcycle to toy around in? What the heck? $1,000? They even sell them on Amazon. And you're not going to kill yourself with speed. How fast can that thing go? One guy bought one and he said, man, at 65, it really shook like mad, but I went down to 50 and it was okay. And people that bought them said, yeah, you got to fool around with them all the time. But that's the thing. You want to get a toy little motorcycle, maybe you want to play around with it a little bit and ride it around, right? For that price, $1,000, right? And the insurance would be dirt cheap because it's only a 125cc. It's not fast, so it's not going to have high insurance premiums, you know? But of course, like Rodney Dangerfield said, it falls apart like a Chinese motorcycle, so you got to expect to do a lot of work yourself. One guy bought one and said, well, I had to take it apart. They didn't grease everything right. And he said it had these horrible Chinese tires, so I put better tires on them. The guy upgraded it all himself, and he spent about $1,000, he said. But now I got a decent motorcycle, and it's only $2,000. It's brand new, so what the heck? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.